Good afternoon. I'm MJ from Linus Publications, and today we're going to look at Trump's Daily for October 1st, 2025, and that's going to be Wednesday. Before that, I just want to come back and talk about two things. On Sunday, I noted that on Monday, the meeting was not going to go well for the regarding the government shutdown. So that's definitely something that's moving in that direction. I don't see anything changing at this time. On Monday evening, I put out the daily for today, and pretty much it was obvious that today was not going to go well, that it was going to be a loyalty test that it was going to come down to. And some of this was broached in ways that with Trump's meandering, it was very hard to see exactly the point he was getting to, or Hegseth's for that matter. But that's pretty much what it came down to. So they're saying that the generals will need to follow what Trump says, even though it may be unconstitutional. And I also want to make a note that if people are feeling that there's going to be something that's going to come up that's going to change this, I looked out till next year. And as I said, there's a question we're going to have elections next year. And there's definitely a question whether we're going to have them in 2028. So I know people want to have some hopes that something's going to come up that will stop this, but that something is the people. So just be aware that I tell it as I see it. I'm not here to give hope where I'm not seeing it in the charts. And I've been seeing that Trump is going to, he might get sick, but even then would be left with Vance, or maybe not, but would still be left with the GOP that is going down this path. And that path is that they have literally done things that are unconstitutional, that reek of corruption, that they need to stay in power so they're not held accountable. And because of that, that says even more that we may not have elections. So I just wanted to make sure that people understand. I don't know what other, psychics or astrologers are saying. I don't follow them. I never have, and never will. But I know what the charts say to me, and it's not a good picture. So let's go on. I had my little spiel here. Let's go on and talk about Trump for tomorrow. It's going to be a tough day. Okay. First thing we have is Moon is conjuncting fate. So in this case, he's coming up with feeling that he is has been summoned to meet this moment. So, and we're not saying that he has, but that's how he's going to emotionally feel. So he feels like he was made for this moment. No, he's going to feel that his decisions carry a lot of weight, even though the decisions themselves may, involve an event that's very minor. Because of this, he might be suddenly either very popular or meet a lot of backslash. So it's important to gauge where the public perception is going on this. He may think it's going in one direction when it isn't. Also expect that he might do things that have some type of symbolic meaning, but it just sort of falls flat. Most people don't get it. The next thing we have is Moon in conjunct Sun. And this one we've had before. And this is indicating that he's just off center. Again, the Moon and with who he feels he is, it's just not there. It's just not coming together. His feelings are not in sync with where he feels he needs to be. So he's just uncomfortable. He's not in the moment. Okay. He's, in something else. He wants it to be something else. So an example is the press asking him about things he doesn't want to be asked about. So he's not in the moment he's in is not where he wants to be. Now we have Moon opposing Saturn. This is a pretty heavy one. So he's going to feel isolated. Saturn is cold, can be distant, and that's the way he's going to be. He's going to feel burdened by what he has to do. Not so much that it's hard or whatever. It's just that it's not something he wants to do. Okay. So remember, he wants to have the spotlight. In this case, Saturn and in effect the moon here are just very cold, distant, and he's not getting the reaction he wants. Now, next one is Moon trine mid. This is actually a little bit of a bright spot in that it's a good time for him to be speaking so he can get his message across. Think of it as a conductor that is, having his musicians play. He's able to get everyone in tune. So this might be a case where he brings out all his speakers, people that are going to stand in for him on the shows and talk him up and, sort of cloud the issues so people no longer remember what he was saying on Tuesday. The next one we have is Moon opposing Venus. This is a tough one. So he goes from being able to speak and say things well, having his people speak, to all of a sudden having the public not being very receptive. So he's going to feel the public disapproving of what he's saying. In addition, any diplomacy he has to do is going to be tough to arrive at any conclusions. He's got tension with allies, and this may actually stretch into his cabinet. So the dynamics in the cabinet itself may sort of be uncomfortable. Sort of like, oh, where did this come from? Okay. So they may not be seeing what other people have seen. And this may be the first time they're sort of like, oh, he's going to have emotional outbursts. And think of it as riptides happening. So you may see some discordant messages coming from his people tomorrow and the next days after. Next one we have is Moon, Ink Mars. Now this one, trying to, do some action, but you can't. It's an inconjunct, so it's a break and adjust. You can't get there from here. So he's out of sync with his public persona. Think of it as wearing the wrong outfit for the occasion. You're just going to be uncomfortable. You can't fit in. You can't do what you need to do. So it's just wrong from the moment you set in there. That's sort of what it's going to be like for a period tomorrow. So he's going to have veiled aggression, which means that if he has any press conferences, he's going to be gaslighting. He's going to be changing the subject, and he's going to be a little bit threatening. He's going to have impulsive statements. He's not going to be decisive at all. So if people ask him questions, he's going to be, sort of going back and forth, not answering. This could also affect his health because Mars is energy, vitality, and so he could, not feel well over this next 2.5 days, for the few hours that this is in play tomorrow. And as an analogy to this, I tried to think of something that's appropriate, and I'm going to use Trump. Think of him lifting up this sword, and in effect, he's trying to yield it like this, trying to show what a big guy he is. But, he can't hold the sword. It just falls out of his grip. That's sort of what it's going to be like for him. He's not strong enough. He's just not able to convey that. So he doesn't have what it takes tomorrow. Now, we've got Moon in conjunct the ascendant now. So in addition to Mars, it's also on the ascendant. So this means that he's not comfortable with his public persona at this point. He can't, it's almost like, think of it as a costume he needs to put on, and he can't put it on. It's just not comfortable. So he's not comfortable going out and being that, guy that's nice, that friendly, He's not like that tomorrow. The next thing is he's not prepared. He's not going to be at ease. He's seeing the public through a fog mirror. And this is a little difficult. He's literally not showing up for things. So he may be there, but he's not there. So this is sort of like he's off someplace else in his mind or in his thoughts, but he's not in the moment. Now, the next thing we have two, we have the Mercury and the Sun making angles. So let's talk about Sun. And this is Sun squaring Mercury. So this is, again, his speech. Sort of like the wires get twisted. He just can't come across well tomorrow. He's impulsive. He overstates intentions. When he talks, he reacts rather than being able to be reflective on things. Press conferences, again, you probably don't want to ask him questions tomorrow. If you do, he will be aggressive coming back at you. His decisions are going to be clouded by ego. He says one thing and he means something else. And you can't say something to him because he will get very angry. And think of it, it is sort of like the crossed wires. And one of the things I thought of is think of the sun's flames burning through Mercury's wires, the communication. So it's spraying, the messages are not getting across. It's burning up. Next thing we have, if that's not enough, we have Mercury square fate. Mercury, communication, going places, short trips. Can't meet the moment in a speech. So maybe earlier he was able to sort of get things across in a speech, but Mercury and the Sun are both effects that will last longer than a day. So in this case, statements are going to be off-beat, missed opportunities. So he may be saying things, but he's missing the point. Diplomatic type conversations are just going to literally go off the road. So he probably shouldn't even be having those. Media moments, again, come back to that, they backfire. So press conferences, I really probably need to watch his press conferences tomorrow because I'm looking, at everything I'm seeing that might be coming up, and I'm like, wow, definitely not a media day for him. There's a problem here that he might be having with his advisors. Maybe his advisors are telling him things about the public that are just not true. Maybe they're telling him that the public loves him, or they're not giving him the right poll numbers. But something's off here. He's enough of a showman that if he knew what people were actually thinking, he would change. Either that or he thinks he's got enough power now, enough control that he doesn't need to. Now, last one we have is Moon coming in. It's going to move from the 5th house into the 6th house. Now, the 5th house is things like the stock market. So maybe he was investing in things like Bitcoin or the stock market. He was doing more outings, maybe like the golf thing. But he's sort of going to move away from that a little bit now. He's spending time with his kids or grandchildren. And it's going to be moving into the house of work. It's also the house of military, so that's not good news. But it's also the machinery of the government, so it's like the workers. So in this case, he's going to be moving towards how things, the machinery of governing, in effect. So could be more bills coming out. He could also focus on fixing what he thinks is wrong with the machine, which is the government. And I worry that it might be behind-the-scenes maneuvering. So this plays into why the Pentagon didn't want to have the media reporting anything unless it was approved. So this could be leading to the fact that they're going to be firing people, okay, specifically in the media, in the government, and they don't want this being reported out. Now, Moon going into the 6th house, that's also the house of health. For the next 2.5 days, there could be something here that could be a health issue. In fact, one of the things he brought up, which I thought was sort of interesting, was about falling, watching where he's stepping, holding on to railings. And I wonder if he fell recently. So it's something to So maybe keep in your mind. Now, that was a lot for tomorrow that's going to be happening. And the next few days are pretty much, yeah, they've got quite a bit going on. And some of this is going to stem from, in effect, what he was putting into play with the shutdown of the government and with the generals today. So he's a busy guy. Hope you have a good evening. And remember, that I also do private consultations. So my website is lionesspublications.com. You can go out there and take a look at the services that I offer. Have a good one. Bye now.